Okay, let's see. Hopefully we'll have a few more people join us here in another couple minutes. It's just now noon. I'm on my phone. I'm having computer problems today, guys, so I am not able to join with computer audio, but I'll have to get that fixed. But I'm on my phone and ready to jump in and talk to you guys about proper use of licensed and unlicensed assistants. This is something that is a common misunderstanding among a lot of people in the real estate industry. So we're just gonna, it's super simple. We're just gonna clarify kind of what those boundaries are and who can be an assistant and, you know, the rules and regulations around that. Hopefully we'll have a couple more people join us. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and start talking. We're recording, so if anybody wants to chime in and catch this later, then at least it's being recorded. This is our broker talk time, which we do twice a month, every couple of weeks. And today I'm going to focus on something that keeps popping up, and it's the proper use of a licensed or unlicensed assistant, or as the Real Estate Commission rules define it, support personnel. So support personnel can be either licensed or unlicensed, but within that rule, Real Estate Commission rule actually, there are certain boundaries that they have to maintain depending on where they're licensed and if they're licensed. So right here at the top, we have Chapter 520, Section 1, subparagraph 0.07. This is management responsibilities real estate firms, and this is a part of the rules for the entire state of Georgia, and it is going to cover rules for most businesses and business practices. 520 just happens to be the chapter that deals with real estate. So that's our chapter, 520, and it goes into an extreme detail, a description of what constitutes and what defines support personnel. That could be anything from an employee of a broker, but mostly it's going to be independent contractors that are actually assisting a licensed agent. So we think of those as licensed assistants, but the Real Estate Commission rule defines it as support personnel. So right out of the gate, you have to have an agreement with the broker that you work for to use a licensed or unlicensed assistant. So the GAR CO07 is the form agreement for licensee's use of a real estate assistant. So the GAR CO7 is definitely the form you want to have signed. That is actually requiring the signature of the agent who's hiring the assistant themselves, as well as the broker. It also has a checkbox that indicates whether that assistant is licensed or unlicensed. And then it goes on to give a list of all the things that an unlicensed assistant, for example, cannot do if they're unlicensed. It says if they're licensed, that they have to be licensed with the same broker that the agent that they're assisting is licensed with, and they have to have an independent contractor signed with that broker, just like the agent who they are assisting. Now, the rule goes on to say that there's an exception, and I have that at the bottom of the screen, that an agent who is actively licensed with one firm, one real estate firm, XYZ Realty, for example, may act as a licensed assistant for a firm that they're not licensed with, as long as both their broker and the broker who they are going to be providing assistance for, or the broker of the agent they're going to be providing assistance for, have a written agreement or letters both consenting to them doing this particular activity. So again, a licensed agent can act as an assistant for an agent or broker who they are not licensed with, as long as both brokers sign an agreement or both write letters consenting, saying that it's okay for this licensee to act in that capacity. However, in situations like that, or in situations of support personnel that are unlicensed, there are very strict rules that as to what they can and cannot do. So I'm going to click on that and let's look at those real quick. So this is a sample list. This isn't as detailed as the list that you're going to find if you actually look up the rule. I just kind of paraphrased it a bit. And this is going to apply for any unlicensed assistants that you have. So they don't have a license at all, and they are not licensed. They're providing support for you as a licensee. You have to have the GAR CO07 signed with that licensed assistant, as well as the broker that holds your license and yourself, and put that on file in your, give it to your broker for holding in your personnel file. That's very, very important. Or if you hire a licensed assistant, they have to be licensed with the same broker you're licensed with, and then they can do pretty much anything you can do, but you still have to have that same licensed assistant agreement, the CO07. Or you can hire an assistant or support, as the rule defines it, support personnel that's licensed with a different brokerage, but both brokers have to agree in the form of a letter, both saying that they consent to that licensee performing these this service, or they have to have an agreement. We don't have a form for that. We don't have a formal agreement between brokers for use of a licensed agent with one company assisting an agent with another company. But the rule that I'm quoting here, which is the 520-1-07 rule, management responsibilities of real estate firms, it does break down what that support personnel person may and may not do. So you have a list here of allowed activities as well as prohibited activities. Let's look at the allowed activities first. They can answer phone calls, basic phone calls, you know, is a property available? Yes. How many bedrooms does it have? 3. Bathrooms? 2. What's the price? Etc. Simple stuff like that. They can set appointments. They can set up inspections appointments. They can set closing appointments. They can even schedule an open house, for example, or other event. They can input listings into the multiple listing service. They can create marketing materials. They can type contract forms under the supervision of the broker and the licensee that they work for. And again, that's very, very important that you remember, if you're hiring someone, that if you have them filling in blanks, that you understand you're the one really ultimately responsible and your broker's ultimately responsible. So you have to carefully review the docs to make sure that they have identified all exhibits, filled them out correctly, put in the appropriate number of days, and identify that they're attached to the exhibit or to the, as an exhibit to the purchase and sale. All of those things are a huge liability that if they're not done correctly, it could end up causing somebody to lose their earnest money, or cause a contract not to be enforceable, or cause somebody to have limited or no rights that they thought they had. So I can't stress enough that if you are delegating that to an assistant, that you are picking apart what they're doing with a fine-tooth comb to make sure that before that offer gets submitted for signatures, that it's correct and that it's clearly indicating what it's supposed to be indicating. They can also accompany the agent that they're assisting to a showing or an open house. simply for security purposes. What they can't do is in the column on the right, they cannot actually act as a showing agent and show properties. Even though they're licensed, if they're licensed with another firm other than the firm that they're helping and assisting, then they cannot show properties. There's a lot of companies out there popping up. I think a couple of them have already gone out of business, but there's companies out there that are popping up that try to create showing opportunities or showing agents, using agents from various different real estate companies, acting as showing agents for various different companies where the agents are not licensed in the same firm. That is actually a prohibited activity. Now, let's say you hire a licensed assistant, but they're licensed with the same firm that you're licensed with. Then they are a finger attached to the same body you're attached to, which is the brokerage, and they can show property for you. The key is that if you're going to use a showing agent, that showing agent must be licensed with the same broker that you're licensed with, because the showing of real estate is goes beyond just assistant work. It is actually the duty of a licensed salesperson. And if someone is not licensed with the broker who they're acting on behalf, and they're doing real estate agent activities that are exclusive to a licensee, such as showing real estate, then they're actually practicing real estate in a firm that they're not licensed with, and that is not allowed. The same goes for hosting open houses. I see agents talk about this online all the time. I'm hiring this agent and that agent to host an open house for me. Well, again, that is a real estate salesperson duty, and it is confined to the brokerage holding that real estate salesperson's license. So if you are going to hire a licensed assistant or an open house host, then the open house host or the licensed assistant to do those types of activities, showing property or hosting an open house, have to be licensed with the same firm that you're licensed with. This is the law. And we're constantly getting clever, creative business opportunities out there that are coming at us that are not in compliance with the rules and not in compliance with the laws. And I just want to make sure you guys are informed and understand that, sure, you can, with permission of both brokers, hire an agent that is licensed with another company to be your assistant. But they are only allowed to do the items here on the left. They are not allowed to do the items on the right, and neither is an unlicensed assistant. So let's go through a few more prohibited activities. And again, this applies to anyone who is either not licensed or they're licensed, but they're not licensed with the same brokerage you're licensed with, and you're the one that's hiring them. They cannot show properties for you. They cannot host open houses for you. They cannot host kiosks or booths. They cannot make prospecting phone calls. They can't negotiate on your behalf if they're unlicensed or licensed with a different brokerage. They cannot answer questions about listings other than basic price questions and amenities: price, number of bedrooms, bathrooms, does it have a pool, does it have a basement, is the basement finished, that sort of thing. And they cannot collect and deliver earnest money, and they certainly can't hold it. So these are some of the basic guidelines. And the reason I chose to go over this today is because we have so much buzz going on out there in social media and different places where agents are constantly talking about their business practices, and they may not realize, and I would say in the vast majority of cases don't realize, that some of the practices they're engaging in aren't actually in compliance. And so when we're hearing these wonderful agents talk about their business practices, if we're listening to that advice, we're going to say, wow, they're a top agent. We should just go ahead and do what they're doing. And this is how it kind of gets out of hand. It's a lot easier for people to copy what they see on social media and Facebook and what have you than it is to get people to read the rules. It's just not, it's not fun. It's not exciting. but it's important, and we all need to understand that it not only puts our clients at risk and the brokers at risk, but it also puts the agents involved at risk, and the agent being hired who may be licensed with another firm, they need to understand the gravity of potentially being charged with practicing with a firm they're not licensed with. So it's very important, and you just got to remember that you're a finger attached to a body, and the body is the brokerage. And so when it comes to activities that involve actually practicing real estate, the fingers can only do what the body that they're attached to is allowing them to do. And I've had a question pop up on this particular situation when it comes to licensees of one firm assisting licensees of another firm. And I've had other people question, well, what if they are all a part of the same franchise? It's all about the H number or the firm license number, and it's all about, the licensed firms when it comes to these rules. It's not about whether those firms might have a common owner or might be business partners or affiliates, or whether both brokers are in agreement of allowing the agent from XYZ Realty to act as an open house host for the agent of ABC Realty. The brokers don't have the authority to make an agreement that's not compliant with state rules. So that's a common misunderstanding. There's a thought process out there that if there's a common owner of the firms, even though they have different license numbers, or if there is an agreement between the brokers of both firms, that agents can do pretty much whatever both brokers agree they can do. And that's simply not the case. If you have an assistant that is unlicensed or licensed with a firm other than the firm you're licensed with, then they have certain activities, as described here on the left, that they can engage in, and certain activities described here on the right that they cannot engage in. And the prohibited activities include showing properties, hosting open houses, making prospect calls, negotiating, et cetera, et cetera. I see a few more people have joined us. For those of you who had just popped in, this is a conversation about the Georgia Real Estate Commission rules around use of a licensed or unlicensed assistant. And I just wanted to see if anybody had any questions, because I have a list of the allowed activities and a list of the prohibited activities. Of course, if you were actually looking at the rule, it's going to go into a lot more detail, but I just tried to kind of get the most obvious ones and paraphrase it. If anybody wants to unmute yourself, if you have a question, I'm pretty sure, or a comment, I'm sure you're probably hearing about this and seeing it throughout the industry, where you're having agents acting as showing agents for brokers they're not licensed with, thinking that it's okay, or agents out there acting as open house hosts or hiring agents from other companies to act as open house host, thinking that it's okay, when in fact it's not okay. So that's why we're having this conversation. Hi, Tammy.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good.
Yeah, I actually had a couple of new agents ask me about this a few weeks ago. So you had already informed us that that's a no-no. So I'm glad they asked, because they may do that without even knowing that it's something that they shouldn't be
Absolutely.
doing. Yeah.
Absolutely. And it's one of those problems that it's becoming so prevalent. And there's even companies out there that are not real estate companies, that are just, entrepreneurial type companies that are creating businesses around doing this activity. And they're enticing brokers and agents to use their service, and their service isn't compliant with these rules. And I'm getting a lot of pushback with other brokers saying, but we're all a part of the same big franchise. That should be okay. But both brokers are willing to agree, even though it's XYZ firm and ABC firm. They're licensed as separate real estate firms with the Real Estate Commission. But as long as both brokers agree, it should be fine, right? No, because the boundaries listed here are all about what constitutes the practice of real estate and what doesn't. And the bottom line is, while someone licensed with one firm could be given permission by both brokers, the one that they're going to assist as well as the one that holds their license, to do certain assistant activities, those activities cannot actually step across the line into the actual practice of real estate. And acting as a real estate salesperson, which is what you're doing, and when you're hosting an open house, you can rename it all you want. It's acting as a real estate salesperson. The goal of that open house is to sell the property. And the client you're acting on behalf is the seller, and the seller is not your client because they are the client of the broker that hired them and the agent that hired them, and you're not licensed with that broker. So you're not a finger attached to that body. You can't practice real estate and act as a real estate salesperson on that broker's behalf if you are not licensed with that broker. Same thing with showing property. If you're out there licensed with ABC Realty and XYZ Realty says, oh, you can just make some extra money going out showing buyers because I can't get there. If you are not licensed with the same broker whose buyer client you're showing, you're practicing real estate under a firm you're not licensed with. Does that make sense, Tammy? Lori, do you have any comments, questions? Lisa?
I don't. Yeah, Angie, thank you so much for even talking about this, because I've gotten over the last month or so, I've gotten so many emails from not just Keller Williams agents, but hey, these other brokerages, and I'm available to host your open house. I mean, they're coming through, Angie,
Right.
just like regular emails, and I'm like, this is not right. So I appreciate it.
And I appreciate it, Lori, and those of us who really care. And the problem is that it's not a lack of information; it's a lack of accurate information.
Yeah.
You're getting information as licensees all the time, largely from social media, other agents, emails, prospecting. You're getting inundated constantly with information, but you're not necessarily getting inundated with people out there saying, oh, by the way, this is actually what the rule says. And, oh, by the way, this is actually what the law says. And this is you protecting your license, protecting your client, not to mention the liability aspect of letting someone who's not licensed with the brokerage go out there and practice real estate as if they were licensed with the brokerage. It's a huge liability for the broker. So, I'm just going to start trying my best to get the information out there that's accurate. And it's something that I've had to research a lot in the past several years, because ever since I got licensed 26 years ago, I've worked for companies that had sister firms. So they always had more than one firm that had a common owner, but they had different firm license numbers. And so the boundaries that group of licensees versus this group of licensees, even though they had a common owner, had to be respected. And so this is something that I've had to study. I've had to become aware of. I can't blissfully just act like I don't know and make assumptions. And that's what's going on out there. So I'm going to start making sure that that we get the right information out there so that people are paying attention. Bit by bit, one agent at a time.
We appreciate it. Thank you.
Thanks, Lori. Lisa, do you have any questions or comments, or have you been seeing this going on out there as well?
I'm sorry, can you hear me now?
Yes, I can.
I don't have any questions right now. I'm listening in because I'm a newer agent, so I'm just trying to get all the information.
Okay. Well, good. This is just some boundaries because, Lisa, as a new agent, you're going to be inundated with all kinds of examples and advice and stuff, a lot of which is going to come from places like social media and just seeing what other agents do. But always know that you have a wonderful resource that we are here to make sure you get accurate information. You can always email myself or Tom, who's the qualifying broker. You can always email the broker team at broker@heartatl.com. There is no stupid question. There's simply information you need in order to move forward accurately. And we don't assume that you just automatically know all this. We also don't assume that just because you just got your real estate license, that you automatically understand all the ins and outs of how to do this job. I don't go a single day without learning something new. And I fully intend to do that the rest of my life, if at all possible. So we're always learning something new, and we're here to help. And I like to tell agents, you don't have a problem. We have a problem. You just need to let me know what our problem is, and then we figure out what we're going to do. Same thing. If you need information, you need information, and there is no question too big or too small.
Okay, thank you.
My pleasure. Anything else, Tammy? Can you think anything else? I think you're muted, hon.
I just said, I'm sure there is. I just can't think of it right now.
That's okay. But I know this was a short conversation, a short presentation, but fortunately this is recorded and it'll go on Circle and other agents will see it. And so I'm certainly hopeful that this will start causing the word to get around. And,
Yes.
you know, I just recommend that, you know, if you want to get more information about it, all you have to do is go to the Real Estate Commission website and click on information, click on license law. And when you do that, you'll see hyperlinks towards the bottom of the page, and you'll see a hyperlink to the rules, which is the 520, Chapter 520 of the Georgia State Rules that were voted in by our Georgia legislators. And it's all things Real Estate Commission rules. Now, we have Title 43, which is a Georgia statute, that's license law. And these rules are actually piggybacking on two license laws. So they're like, a lot of them will be redundant, but they also get into precise requirements, such as when it comes to advertising, when it's specific property, the font size, and the frequency, and the phone number, and all of those particulars. So the rules tend to get very specific, even more specific oftentimes than the actual license law. So I hope this has been helpful. And remember, if anybody has any questions at all about this or any other broker-related subject, please do not hesitate to email and reach out to me and Tom Fulkerson. The broker email is broker@heartatl.com. Tom is going to be teaching part 1 of the Contracts 101 class, which is preparing to write a purchase and sale. So Lisa, if you're available, that starts at 1, same link. You might want to disconnect from this presentation, then log back in at 1 o'clock. And you can join Tom for that. And then I'll be teaching next week, where we actually go over in extreme detail the actual purchase and sale contract form. And then the following week, we're going to go over exhibits and amendments. So thanks for joining me today. And you guys, please, if you're available, join Tom in 30 minutes at the 1 o'clock presentation for Contracts 101 Part 1. Thanks so much, everybody. Have a great day.
Angie, thank you so much.